Rich Dad, Poor Dad is one of the best-selling money books ever, and a lot of financial experts hate it. They call it oversimplified, vague, even dangerous. But here's the real question. Is it dangerous because it's wrong, or because it makes you think differently? Don't read it like it's a get-rich-quick blueprint. Don't treat it like a step-by-step investing manual. And definitely don't swallow every word without thinking. Because if you do, you might walk away confused. But if you learn how to filter it, take the gold, leave the fluff, this book could be the mindset shift that pulls you out of the employee hamster wheel and puts you on the path to building real assets. And maybe, just maybe, the people who call it dangerous are the same ones who profit when you never question the system. You're watching MCubed, Money Mindset Makeover. This isn't just a channel, it's a mindset revolution. Subscribe to elevate your money mindset. Elevate your life. Today, we're kicking off a two-part series where we break down two of the most talked about books in the money game. Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, and Freakonomics by Levitt and Dubner. Two very different books. Same mission, to flip the script on how you think about money, power, and wealth. So learn how to break free from the cycle of debt and build a secure financial future. Not just for yourself, but for generations to come. Subscribe to Money Mindset Makeover and hit the bell to join the financial revolution, my MCubed Mavericks. Let's dive in. Picture this, it's 1997. Many of you were not even born yet, and Robert Kiyosaki, a guy who's been broke and built himself back up, releases a little book that becomes a financial wrecking ball. No corporate jargon, no complicated spreadsheets, just two dads, two very different money philosophies, and one kid watching it all unfold. On one side, his actual father, a highly educated, government-employed poor dad who preached stability, job security, and working for a paycheck. On the other, his best friend's father, the rich dad, a man with no college degree who built businesses, owned property, and let his money work so he didn't have to. Same city, same opportunities, completely different financial outcomes. That contrast is the heartbeat of this book. And honestly, it hits different when you're a millennial or Gen Z just trying to figure out why your degree isn't paying off the way they promised. Let's break down the big ideas Rich Dad, Poor Dad throws at you, because some of them are genuinely life-changing. Assets versus liabilities. Rich Dad's first rule, rich people buy assets. Poor and middle-class people buy liabilities and think they're assets. An asset puts money in your pocket. A liability takes money out. Your car? Liability. Your mortgage, in most cases, liability. Stocks, rental income, a side business that runs without you? Assets. It sounds obvious when you say it out loud, but think about how you were raised. Were you taught to buy a home as the ultimate sign of success? Were you encouraged to finance a car to build credit? The system taught you to collect liabilities and call it wealth. But here's the real twist. Rich Dad says it's not about how much money you make. It's about how much money you keep. And more importantly, how hard the money you keep is working for you. The rat race. You know that feeling of working a full-time job, paying your bills, maybe grabbing a little treat to reward yourself for surviving the week, and then doing it all again Monday? That's the rat race. Earn, spend, repeat. Earn, spend, repeat. The rich have learned to step off that wheel by building income streams that don't require trading time for dollars. Financial education. Rich Dad's biggest gripe with the school system, and honestly, it's hard to argue with him, is that we're taught everything except how money works. We spend 12+ years in school learning algebra, essay structure, and the history of ancient civilizations. 0 hours on taxes, investing, compounding interest, or how to read a financial statement. Is that an accident, or is it a design? Now let's get real for a second. Because this book, as foundational as it is, was written in 1997. And the world these ideas are landing in today is a completely different beast. You graduated into a job market that rewards hustle culture. Work harder, work smarter, work more. Meanwhile, rent has gone up 30% in some cities since 2020. Entry-level salaries? Barely moved. Student loan debt in the US has crossed 1.7 trillion. That's not a typo, trillion. You're not lazy, you're exhausted. And the system profits off your burnout. The Just Save More crowd will say you're spending too much on avocado toast and Spotify. But the math doesn't work. You can cut every luxury and still not outpace rising costs without a strategy shift. That's not a personal failure. That's a structural one. And here's where Rich Dad Poor Dad can feel both empowering and infuriating at the same time. Kiyosaki tells you to buy assets, build businesses, invest in real estate, but doesn't exactly tell you how to do that when you've got $200 left after rent and student loans. The gap between the mindset and the method is real. But hold on, because this part matters. The mindset shift is the foundation. Without it, even the best financial tools won't save you. Most people don't fail because they lack information. They fail because they're still operating with a broke mindset in a body trying to build wealth. Have you or someone you know ever struggled to keep their money, no matter how hard they worked? Drop your story in the comments. Your experience might help someone else avoid losing their hard-earned cash. MCubed is a family, we've got your back. Let's give credit where it's due. The core philosophy of Rich Dad. Poor Dad, that financial literacy is the real wealth gap, is more relevant today than ever. And here's how it maps to our 4 MCubed pillars. Earn. Rich Dad emphasizes creating multiple income streams, not relying on one boss, one paycheck, one skill set. That's pure 2026 energy. Side hustles, freelance work, digital products, content creation. These are all asset-building moves if done strategically. Invest. The idea that your money should work while you sleep is the foundation of every investing strategy from index funds to REITs. You don't have to be a millionaire to start. You just have to start. Even $25 a month invested consistently beats $0 invested perfectly, someday. Save. Here's where Rich Dad challenges traditional saving advice. He argues that saving money in a bank account that barely keeps up with inflation isn't saving, it's slow loss. Instead, saving to invest is the move. Every dollar you hold back should have a job, a destination, a purpose. Budget. Rich Dad doesn't call it budgeting in the traditional sense, but his pay yourself first principle is foundational. Before bills, before Netflix, before anything else, pay future you. Set aside a percentage of every paycheck for your investment accounts, your emergency fund, your wealth-building systems. Now, in the spirit of MCubed Real Talk, here's what Rich Dad Poor Dad doesn't fully address and why you can't swallow it whole. First, privilege and access. Kiyosaki's Rich Dad had connections, business knowledge, and frankly, capital. Not everyone starts from the same position. If you're navigating medical debt, supporting family, or working in industries without upward mobility, some of his advice needs serious context. Second, real estate isn't as simple as it sounds. Property investment is one of the most effective wealth-building tools out there, and also one of the most capital-intensive. You can't just buy a rental property with no down payment, no credit history, and no emergency fund. It requires steps, preparation, and sometimes years of building. Third, Kiyosaki's numbers have been questioned. Some critics point out that his specific investment claims are hard to verify, and that his later financial products were more profitable for him than for his students. That's worth knowing. So here's the MCubed take. Read Rich Dad Poor Dad for the philosophy. Supplement it with real, actionable financial education for the strategy. Think rich. Think different. But verify before you invest. Here's the moment that hits differently once you truly absorb it. Most of us were raised to be employees. Think about it. School trains you to show up on time, follow instructions, complete assignments, and earn a grade that translates directly to a paycheck. The entire system is optimized to produce workers, not owners. Rich Dad says the goal isn't to get a better job. The goal is to build systems that earn money whether you show up or not. This is where broke ends and ownership begins. And before you think, that's easy for rich people to say, it is. But the moment you shift from asking, how do I earn more, to how do I make my money earn more, everything changes. You start looking at expenses differently. You start valuing financial education like it's a gym membership for your bank account. You start seeing that cash flow, not salary, is the real measure of financial freedom. Wealth logic. You're not trying to make $10,000 a month in salary. You're trying to build systems that generate $10,000 a month in passive or semi-passive income. That's a completely different game. And it's a game you can learn. If you're feeling this right now, stop scrolling. Unsubscribe from broke and become the CEO of your life. starting today. Hit subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next, because your bank account will thank you later. Alright, MCubed fam, let's land this plane. Rich Dad, Poor Dad isn't perfect. It's not a manual. It's a mindset activator. And depending on where you are in your financial journey, it might be exactly the jolt you need, or just the beginning of a much deeper education. Here's your MCubed takeaway. 1. Understand the difference between assets and liabilities. Build assets. Question liabilities. 2. Start thinking about money as a tool, not a trophy. Money doesn't make you free. Money working for you makes you free. 3. Your financial education is your responsibility. Schools drop the ball. Pick it up. 4. Use our 4 pillars as your GPS. Save with intention. Invest consistently. Earn from multiple streams. Budget to fund your future, not just your present. The system wasn't built to make you wealthy, but your mindset, your choices, and your community can override the system. That's what MCubed is here for. Be sure to stick around for the next video. Part 2. Freakonomics. Because we're about to show you how incentives run the world, and how knowing that can make you seriously smarter with your money. Stick and stay. I've got your back, MCubed fam. Also, don't sleep on my video shorts. My latest 24-hour pause rule on purchases. It's a game changer. See you there, MCubed family.